is that because you're doing a lot of new stuff, you're distracted by things, basically estimate a U that's going to be like 30 IQ points less. Okay. And you're going to do dumb things. I did dumb things when I was a student. It's just what's going to happen. Okay. And so you're going to try running around, don't run. You're going to try to, move this beaker of stuff, and you're going to very easily trip, even if you're not clumsy, and spill it all over something, right? Okay, so try to be very careful. What you'll notice is that to try to head some of this off, I have placed safety modules online. Okay. You're supposed to do those safety modules, and then there's a safety contract. You need to read that safety contract and agree to the safety contract. Okay. If you haven't agreed to the safety contract, number one, you will not be able to submit any assignments after this. Number two, you're going to be not allowed to do labs. Okay. I need you to actually know some safety information, baseline information, and actually follow that safety protocols. We will not actually use anything more dangerous than what you could have gotten at Walmart. Okay. If I'm being honest here, like everything we use in this semester, you can get at Walmart. The most dangerous thing that you will use that is in this semester are sealed in glass capillaries, and you can't actually get access to them unless you purposely try to hurt yourself with it. But like we're going to use Bunsen burners and flames, right? And so even stuff from Walmart, they sell Bunsen burners and flames, essentially grills. You can still hurt yourself. Okay. Okay. And so this is me, of course. This is my front page for the Canvas. Please get out a computer so you can follow along. We'll also need that computer later on for a quiz. You can use a phone. You can use anything you want. You'll also want your phone, and you'll want to make sure you have Canvas on that phone. So there is what's called a check-in and check-out quiz. Okay. So when you came in here, about 10 minutes before class starts, there's a quiz that opens up, okay? I typically actually try to come here about 30 minutes before because I have to set stuff up usually. Today, I don't have to set anything up. It's already mostly set up, right? In fact, a lot of it's your setup. So, usually I'm here a little bit early, and I'll let you guys come in. You can't actually start with any lab equipment, but you can like clean glassware. So for example, don't light Bunsen burners before class starts. Don't grab chemicals and open chemicals and that sort of thing. Okay, because I have to be actively monitoring you all for it to be insured. Otherwise, it's gross negligence, right? Now we can get away with like a couple minutes me using the restroom, a few minutes me going and talking to somebody because I need help getting something, but can't be like 30 minutes of you working in this lab, no direction, right? Though with my safety training modules, technically we should be okay to have lengthened that out, but that's not quite enough for a certification anymore because you can just throw an AI and get the answers, right? Certifying has become kind of difficult. All right. So what we're going to do here is I'm going to go through my information. Some of you have me for lecture, some of you don't. Okay. One of the things I need to mention, in case it hasn't been mentioned before, is there is a lecture, Chemistry 103, and then you have a section number after it. Okay. 01, 02, 03. Okay. I teach both the 01 and 02s. Hawkins teaches the 03. Okay, and some of you are from his lecture, and some of you are from mine. My too. If you don't recognize somebody, that's why. And so the labs, on the other hand, are also split up again, and so I teach 01, 03, and 04 for the labs. That's Chemistry 103L. See how there's an L at the top of this thing whenever you go on the page. And then this is 04. It's the last one in the week. Okay, so you're the last section. And so what you'll see here is that The lecture and the lab, they are separate grades. They can have separate professors. They have separate assignments. They are separate courses. They follow the same stream of material, and they're very tightly interknit. We try to keep on to like the same sort of timing so that we can keep the labs organized and not following the same materials. Okay, so they better explain material you're seeing in lecture. Okay, every now and then it'll diverge just a little bit. It's one of the reasons why what I have up here is I actually have my lecture PowerPoints and videos that are on YouTube channel for the videos. That is a public YouTube channel because people are having a lot of difficulty accessing the private stuff due to various like blocks and filters at workplaces, schools, etc. And so it is a public one. It does have comments enabled, and I don't know what it is, but over the winter break, I had I think I reached 50 at one point, but I think I've shed some subscribers. But anyways, it doesn't matter. I have subscribers to that channel that are not in my classes, and I have no idea what happened. Like, over winter break, a bunch of people decide, hey, I want to watch some organic chemistry lectures. And so they seem like a pretty nice group, so I've left the comments enabled. I don't think it's a problem, but we'll see, okay? If there are really bad comments, let me know. Sometimes those get taken over by, well, the most extreme events were mafias and terrorist organizations. And they use them as a way of communicating on like random videos, posting it as comments in code, obviously. But so if I get something really weird, let me know. But otherwise, I'm just gonna leave comments available. Because one of the things you can do is you can like post the videos. Hey, this covers this topic, which I was having trouble finding. Okay, you can help other people out. This is how you can schedule an appointment with me. It's a permanent Calendly link. So if you have that Calendly link, it's going to always work. It's all my office hours and hours I take appointments. Okay. And you can actually schedule your own Zoom meeting if you need. So if we're stuck, do the snow, you can actually use that to directly just schedule a Zoom meeting with me. Okay. And it will make its own Zoom meeting, launch that Zoom meeting, all that. Okay. I pay for the paid subscription. I know. So that I have all the features, and yeah, it's quite nice actually. Very useful. If anybody's a professional, by the way, this is actually a very useful site. Calendly. Okay. So syllabus. We're going to talk about the syllabus in just a bit. I want to show you the dynamic schedule before we do that. And I also want to point out I have a student-led Q&A. If it's like 2 in the morning and you have a question, do not call me. Okay. Do not want to be called 2 in the morning, 3 in the morning, none of that stuff. Okay. I won't answer emails at 2 or 3 in the morning. In fact, in general, I try to separate myself after work because I work from like 7:30 in the morning until oftentimes 5:30, 6 p.m. at night. It's almost 12 hours. Okay. I just unplug and relax and actually be present for my life, right? When I leave. So, and unfortunately, I am not as responsive to emails as I would have liked because I am just absolutely booked. So I have very, very, very little time to answer emails. The time I do have that would answer emails, usually I have students actually present, and I'm communicating to the students that are present and doing stuff with them. So it's very difficult for me to get free time to actually answer emails. I'm usually have something that my hands and eyes are all occupied. Usually my voice too, and my body moving around. Surprisingly little time. Okay. So the dynamic schedule looks like this, and what you'll see is it has that course up there, right? And so this is a copy of my planning schedule. It automatically updates the day. See how these are past days, this is today, and these are future days, okay? And so we meet every Friday. This is the second week of school, and so it numbers off the weeks in case you ever wondered what all those professors are doing, like week 1, week 2. Yeah. And today we're doing the review Okay. And then last week, that was doing the intro material, the safety material, that sort of stuff online. Okay. And then this one right here is going to be next week, and that's 0 to measurement, right? Now, if a snow event happens, if I have to cancel things, if I'm restructuring things, this is a direct copy of my schedule. This is my schedule. And now you know why I'm so packed. And so there's only 2 chemistry faculty, full-time chemistry faculty at the university. And then we have 1 adjunct that works at another university that is Professor Hawkins, which he's wonderful, but he only has so much time to devote here. So, love Ian, love my coworkers, but unfortunately, we're all booked. And we can't find anybody else to help. So, if you know a master's or above chemist, tell them to come adjunct at Cumberland. We're looking. Now, so that's my schedule. What will happen if we have any restructuring and scheduling that needs to happen is I will actually start working on it here. Okay. So if you check the dynamic schedule, sometimes you get tripped out because I'm actually like working on something, right? I'll be moving things around and does that fit here? There's that conflict with. Okay. But in general, this is going to be like looking in my head, right? I will have my plans here far before I ever release an email. Like you could up to an hour or 2 before because I'm scheduling things and have a class, right? So, all right. And so you'll look down here, and then we have in-person labs. These are all in-person labs right here that require this lab to function. Okay. Unfortunately, this lab cannot be picked up and taken with you. That is not possible. And then we can't send things with you anymore. That got sued to oblivion about 10 years ago. Okay. Yeah. So like, if you were to look like 20 plus years ago, it was very common if you missed labs, the professors would like just check you out glassware and chemicals and stuff, and then send it with you. And then you take that home with you and like you do the lab at home. Okay. And then you could come back and report the data. All right. That was actually very common. It was really nice. And then like universities did it more widespread with like online classes 10 years ago, where they a little bit over 10 years ago now, 15 I think it was pretty common. And they would send kits to you, and then you would use the kits, and then you'd send them back. Okay. The universities now do not do that at all. None of them. Okay. Not a single one in the United States does that. If they do online labs where you can do it at your house, it's a third party that sells you the kit, typically for like $300 to $400. Okay. And the reason that is because of the liability. If I send you instructions and chemicals with you, it doesn't matter if there's stuff that you can pick up at Walmart and you could have done this all yourself. Like, this could be the most benign thing in the world. Literally, some of them are the most benign things in the world. Like, literally boiling salt. Okay? Boil salt water. That one specifically was one of the largest, at least I'm aware of, lawsuit settlements. Boiling salt water. And the reason for that is what happens is the students don't always follow good lab procedure, safety procedures. They do some that's really dumb sometimes, and they hurt themselves horrifically. Okay. If I send you that procedure and I send you all the equipment, I'm responsible, right? And so in lab, that's why you can't do lab work on your own. I'm here and I can go like, this is an actual example, by the way. I knew a professor who sent a student into the lab and said, hey, get your equipment ready, and then we'll start this procedure when I get in there. Okay. And so she thought she'd get ahead and start stuff up. He was taking longer than he planned to get there. And she started the lab. He came in, and what he saw was a round bottom flask with a stopper, with a thermometer going through the stopper, so it's completely sealed. That round bottom flask had something called octane in it. You may recognize that name. I'll get to that in a second. And it was over a Bunsen burner at full blast. Okay? Let me know why that's really, really not a good idea. Where do you recognize octane from? Fuel. Gasoline, right? It's really good gasoline. So she took really, really good gasoline, put it in a pressurized vessel. When you do that with an explosive, that's called a bomb. And then she put flame to it and was cooking a bomb. And putting her face right up against it to read, right? So eventually that would have built up pressure, thrown all of the incendiary material, gasoline, out into the flame, and it would have blown up and taken her and part of the building with it, probably. She's doing quite a bit. So she literally made an incendiary bomb and put her face next to it and just waited for it to explode. And so you're doing new things. I don't blame that student. It was extra kind of stupid because it was like she knew that was flammable materials. You don't use a Bunsen burner with flammable materials. Hopefully that registers. But like that's okay. You're doing procedures for the first time. You're learning new things. It's going to take some brain power. You're not going to have that brain power to think, right? And so that's why we do things in front of me. So I can go, no! That's what he did. He went, no! And ran up and turned off the gas. So it stopped doing the flame. And then taught how to properly do the procedure, which was pretty wild, right? The biggest lawsuit I'm aware of is it was on the order of like a $10 million lawsuit. And what happened is the person was heating salt, but instead of using like a flame or something and, being really careful, they just put it on top their stove, which was a gas stove. And so I'm not sure exactly what they had around them, but apparently they like blew up the beaker. It shattered and hit them really good, destroyed their face. Didn't have goggles on, didn't have safety glasses on, which I don't know why they weren't wearing that. But and then somehow managed to get the oil on the flame as well, and like light themselves and their kitchen on fire. And so it was brutal, like loss function of a large part of the nerves and face, and yeah, really, really bad. Really simple lab to go so far wrong, right? Like, how would you would literally go off and boil salt water, and that's what it ends up with. Like, you just would not imagine that, right? I understand both sides of that. Wow. Really wrong. Not funny, really dumb, so you just kind of have to go, oh my God. But so these are ones in lab. We don't send people off with stuff to do things anymore. If I'm going to send you off to do things, I will not give you instructions to do them. You will have to do your own things, and then if I'm not telling you to light things on fire, then you light things on fire. It's none of my business. Okay. I don't normally send you off with instructions anymore, though. So model, this is going to be a model kit. So it'll be like questions we do in class, and that one can be transferred online if you need. Okay. And so there are ones that can be done online if you have an event, otherwise you want to be here. Okay. So this right here is the sugar concentration lab. That one's in person again. This one right here is sampling. We'll have a short time in the lab. I'll teach you how to take samples, and then you'll go off and take samples. Okay. And this scheduling, it becomes a little bit weird here. And that's actually because of this lab. So because Friday, okay, you'll end up seeing that everybody else ends up having the same schedule. So if I had a Monday lab, they also would have caused issues. Friday and Monday labs, always the ones that have problems, right? Because that's when all the holiday breaks and stuff happen, right? So what happens is I just can't keep multiple setups out in lab, right? And so all the labs will always match each other. So if one of the labs gets canceled, if one of the labs has something, every lab has to have that same thing. so I can keep everybody matched. Okay. And so what's happening here on 08 review, you'll notice that sampling happens. We take samples, and then we're supposed to pH test those samples. But I have like a 2-week difference, right? And that's because this Friday right here, I have a speaking engagement, which I'm going to, and speaking at another university. And then this is Good Friday. And so that's university holiday, right? National holiday. Now, that means I have to have 2 weeks between these things. There's nothing I can do, right? And so when you do sampling, and I'll try to mention this whenever we're taking the samples, but in case I forget, also here, is that you'll want to practice the sampling techniques I show you so you don't forget and you have a good idea what you're doing. But you probably want to avoid taking the actual samples until closer to the pH, especially if they're things like food, drinks, etc., which will go bad, right? So we'll just have to kind of work that scheduling out, okay? Now, the next one after that, this is called scientific method. What we'll do is we're going to make fireworks. Okay, you'll make tiny fireworks, which will set off. There's this fan right here that blows the air out so we can keep the air fresh in the lab. And we'll make little tiny fireworks, and we're going to try to optimize those fireworks to achieve the effects you want to achieve. Okay? And so we're going to try to you'll try to make it so you get the color you want. You'll try to get the effect you want. I want to pop and then give off those little ding, 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 ding. Okay? That's the thing you're going to try to do. Is that making sense? Yeah. So you'll I have a procedure up. You'll look at that procedure. You'll write your own derivation of that procedure that's going to try to achieve an effect. And then what you'll do is take the scientific method and go, okay, I want to achieve this. I think if I do this, it will achieve that. And then you do that change and see if it works. Okay? And if it works, then I achieved my effect. If it doesn't work, I didn't achieve my effect. I think maybe if I do this, it'll do it. Okay? Or maybe this effect is not achievable. How can I try to show that it's not achievable? Okay? All right, so the next one right here, this is the week before finals. This is a makeup quiz day, okay? And so what's going to happen is if you miss a lab that needs this lab space to go, okay? Some of them are quizzes, and you can do those quizzes from home if you have a valid excuse to be gone, okay? Otherwise, you won't get the attendance and all of that, right? If you have a valid excuse, and a valid excuse is the university-approved excuses, of course, okay? But there are other excuses that I could take, like I don't have a vehicle, and my mother and parents and everybody I know is gone, right? I live out in the countryside, 2 hours away. I commute, and now I'm stuck in a snowstorm that, Lebanon, it's not that big of a deal, okay? There are other excuses. I understand. It happens, right? Now, there are 2 makeup quizzes that are online. And what will happen is if you miss a lab that you have to be here in person, okay, you will submit your excuse to that lab, okay? And you submit it as typically a PDF so I can read it. And then normally labs don't require an online submission. You'll have a lab packet, you bring the lab packet, you fill in the lab packet, you turn it in as you leave, okay? That's the only reason you would, for almost all of these labs, have to submit digitally something to that lab, okay? And so you submit your excuse to them, and what will happen is that at the end of the semester, if it was a valid excuse, I'm going to excuse you from that lab, and instead you will need to do this makeup quiz. If you don't do the makeup quiz, you don't get excused from the lab, okay? And that's because I have to have a certain amount of work to give you full credit, right? And justify those credit hours. There are 2 of these quizzes up right now. I haven't really had a lot of times where I've had people get past 2. But if I do get past 2, I can make more quizzes. Hopefully I don't have to, right? Because keep in mind, some of these labs don't require you to be here in person, right? So it's fairly rare. There's no lab the final week. Finals week, concentrate on finals. Okay? Do a good job on those tests. Pass your courses, please. All right. So this right here is going to be your syllabus. I am Dr. Joshua Clausen. In case you should always evaluate, is the person that's going to teach me qualified to teach me? Okay. And so my history is that I'm a PhD in chemistry and geosciences. I got my PhD from UMKC, that's University of Missouri, Kansas City. I have, depending on what you count as a publication, I have between 24 and 30, low 30. Okay, very low 30, like 32, 30, something like that. Publications, 24 of those publications are internationally peer-reviewed journal publications. The rest of those are things like proceedings at meetings, book chapters. I have 2 book chapters, that sort of stuff. Okay. I've been a editor, special editor for Spectrochemic Acta, guest editor, that's called. And I have done lawsuits where I'm the scientific counsel. I've done about 4 of those that went to actual trial, and 2 more that they just went in. Now I can't pursue that when I gave my result, which happens a lot actually. And so I am what's called typically like I'm a bit of a interesting grab bag of stuff, but I'm what's usually called a spectroscopist. Okay. It's a little bit different than a spectrometrist, but you all probably don't care that much about the difference. And I'm the sort of person that would do things like when you have one drug versus another drug, I'm the one that would say, like, these are the same things. Okay. Or I would identify what that is. So, for example, like a pharmaceutical makes a new drug, they'd send it to me, and I'd go, this is what that compound is. And then they would patent that. When they don't do that, sometimes they lose their patents. Stop making $14 billion a year. My advisor is actually the one that proved that a very, very famous drug was not the structure that they had patented. And so they lost their patent for $14 billion a year. And my advisor was scientific counsel for the other side. So their spectroscopist was crap. What the fuck? That sort of stuff I do. I'm also the type of person that would like, this quasar has these things in it, and so we found organic molecules in quasars. Excuse me, nebulas, not quasars. Excuse me, but also quasars. I can tell you what stuff is. Also, I'm the sort of person that does like, this is the violations from the EPA sort of thing. Okay, if you're ever curious, that's what I do. But my job is very like industry applicable as well. And so, for example, Coca-Cola has a team of about 5 of my type of people. Usually not as well qualified as me. Usually one person that's that well qualified for like district or region. But those people would be the ones that are like, this is Coca-Cola, this is Coca-Cola. Oh, we got something else in here. Stop the line. Okay. And what did we do? What's wrong? How do we fix it? Okay. Anyways, am I qualified to teach you guys, or do you want me to keep going? We're about halfway through the stuff I've done. We're good? Okay. Yeah, I prefer not to keep going on that forever. Huh?
This is 302.
Yes, this is 302, and this is the Chemistry 103 lab. Okay. This right here is my office hours. That's that same information that was on Calendly, by the way. Calendly is just a way you can schedule those office hours. You don't have to schedule to come in, but anybody that schedules will get priority during those office hours. I usually have office hours any given semester that have like 2 or 3 people almost the entire time. I get like 80+% office hour usage. Okay. And so my office hours are normally quite packed, and there's a lot of people asking questions. So if you schedule, you are the priority. And I will always come back to you and be like, okay, your priority. Are you okay? Do you want anything? And then I take other questions if you don't. Okay. Because there's oftentimes like you'll come in for help with questions or something, right? And then you'll be working on the question and answering. And then I don't understand this part. Then we have another like 2 minutes of silence. Yeah. All right. This is course descriptions, learning outcomes. You should always download all your syllabi, because if you don't download your syllabi, you don't have your contracts with your professor on how you're supposed to pass this course. Also, if you ever need to transfer this information, if you go to like a different nursing program or something else, this is the stuff you need if you ever have to transfer. Okay? Or want to transfer. Nah, have to. Cumberland's great. Really nice people, right? Good. Okay, so this is the breakdown for the grades. It's the part you all actually care about. Nobody ever cares about any of the other stuff. It's actually more important. Lab safety. If you did your lab safety modules, then congratulations, you have 10% of your grade. Okay, woo, doing good. Pretty simple stuff, right? For that. Now, if you willfully violate the safety information, I will start penalizing you. But honestly speaking, if you're willfully violating the safety guidelines, normally what happens is I'll warn you a couple times, usually 3 times, because baseball, even though I don't even like baseball. And so I will, you're doing this, stop doing that, get your goggles on, you need to keep your goggles on, that sort of thing. And if you keep doing it the 3rd time, I'll say, hey, this is the final warning. If you do this again, I'm going to kick you out. And then the next time I will kick you out. Okay? I've only had to do that like 5-ish times. And I've never had to permanently kick somebody. Every time that I've kicked somebody, they've come back and be like, sorry, Dr. Clausen, this reason, I was being stupid. Okay? Usually like bad day. Okay? Sick, cranky, angry. Just. And so, not usually a permanent issue, but if you're just violating safety guidelines all the time, I will boot you out of the lab here. Okay? You just can't have somebody willfully like endangering themselves and others. Okay. We are using flames in here. Lecture, it's not such an issue, just don't be loud. But lab, you could light some math on. Okay. And we don't want to burn the university down again. Okay. I'm not the one that burned it out the first time. Okay. Though I am a Yankee, so by association, I guess. Check-ins, check-outs. Okay, so please get out your phones right now. Go on to Canvas. Under assignments or modules, you will find something called a check-in. Okay, open that check-in. Those check-ins are meant to be done that first 20-ish minutes. Usually before that, you'll want to do it right as you come in here. You'll want to do the check-in. And what you'll notice is the check-in is literally just a procedure you're supposed to go through so you can get your glassware and equipment ready and have that lab ready to go. Okay? And so you'll go through, you'll clean your environment, prepare it, get it ready. One of the things you need to do, for example, you all at this desk could do, is there's a picture you need to take of your environment at the beginning before you get it all clean. And what you want to do is exactly, okay, you're going to be my little tattletales and spies, okay? And I need your help. I share lab environments, both sides. I'm one of the few people that works on both sides. And I share them with other professors, okay? And 2 ladies primarily that share it with me. And they have very, very specific guidelines of what they think a lab should look like. And before I implemented this procedure, I got blamed almost every week for messes in both sides of the lab and heard it for hours. Okay? I am sick and tired of this. So I implemented a double check-in, check-out procedure, right? And so now I have photographic evidence of the environment, how it started before I started, right? And how we left. Okay? And so what I'm finding out is 90% of the time it is not me. Okay? It is. And the thing is, I knew that there was a lot of them that weren't me because I'd get blamed for soap. I've never made soap over there. No, I didn't make soap over there. There's not a possibility that soap that was left in the damn test tubes was me. But I'd still get blamed. And I wouldn't have photographic evidence. And then I wouldn't know exactly who did it, right? This way, I know 3 times a week, Tuesday morning, Thursday morning, and then Friday morning, right? I have evidence that, it was before Thursday morning that the mess was there. So whatever section was between Tuesday and Thursday, that's the one. Okay. And I can track it down and go, no, this is you. Okay. So you're going to help me with that. That first picture, you're going to find messes and you're going to report those messes. Okay. If there's messes in the drawers, if there's things not put back in where they should be, if there's obviously a mess left out like that, any of that stuff, I want to know. Okay. Okay. There's also a checkout. So the check-in you're going to want to do, you can start it if you want while I'm talking, since there's not a lot of notes you probably need to take, and I am recording this. So the checkout you're going to do before you leave. So the check-in opens up 10 minutes before the lab starts, and it closes typically about 20 minutes after the lab starts. Okay? And it's what you should do before we start actually doing the lab, right? One of the reasons I also implemented that, okay, so there's the picture reporting, right? But there's also another section where you go through a checklist and do those things. I implemented that because I had this experience last semester where people came in and then sat there, and then I started my pre-lab stuff. And right away in the pre-lab, one of the things I started is it was a very simple procedure they needed to get done. And then I could tell them about the rest of the lab while it was done, waiting. Then they'd have that. And it was get a beaker out, clean the beaker with soap and water, and then dry it off, put it on the balance. Okay? Is that a tough procedure? How long should that take? 5 minutes, maybe? Yeah. Maybe 10 minutes? 45 minutes. 45 minutes. With me having to repeatedly go answer over a dozen questions. How do I clean a beaker? What do I use to clean it with? So, I mean, the instructions say you need a beaker. You're going to get that beaker out and clean it, right? And that'll be a requirement. Right behind you. See the little tag? Yep. There you go. You just look at your partner. So you're the next number over. Yeah. So what was your number? Tell her. You're the desk number that's missing. I found the tag, I just never found the desk. Okay, so at the end of lab, this opens 30 minutes after we start. There's what's called a checkout, okay? And then you'll do that after you've done the entire lab, you got everything clean. That's reporting, hey, I have everything clean and providing evidence. That's all clean, okay? And it gives you a check-off procedure that, takes you through that process to remind you to do things. You'll notice there's an equipment list. One of the steps in all of these is you always check and make sure, do I have all the equipment? If I don't have all the equipment, I report that in my photo that I don't have all the equipment, take a picture of my desk part, and then I get the equipment, okay? And so I will then, you'll come up to me and go, Dr. Clausen, I'm missing this, okay? And I'll go, I think it's there. Sometimes I don't know exactly where it is because things can move a lot. This place is chaos. You guys ever seen Gremlins? If you've seen Gremlins, then you know. Okay, Gremlins 2 is this building. Okay? And so this right here, this small brass key, is the key to the cabinets out here. These glass cabinets out here. I'll send you off with the key. You'll open the door over there, and you'll grab what you need. Okay? There's also some of the equipment here. Right? Quite a bit of the equipment actually is here, especially like the metal stuff. So I want you to open your drawers. So the top drawer is your drawer. You share it with your lab partner. Be very careful, by the way. Yeah, it does not have those brakes that keep it from slamming. Okay, so you can slam it hard enough that you'll break the glass in, right? So see that little chart, and it has all the stuff you're supposed to have? That's what should be in there. Now, you'll notice that the metal stuff is not in that drawer. See that? most of the metal stuff. So if you look in the cabinet between you two, the one in the middle, that has a tub. Yeah, go ahead and open it. That has a tub that has all of the metal stuff. Okay? So what you'll see is there's a hot plate in there. There's a tub with all the metal stuff. There's what's called a ring stand in there. And occasionally some of you will have a balance in there. Okay? They're backup balances. You can actually leave those balances in there. Just put them below your metal kit so you can get your metal kit enough. Okay? And so together, that metal kit and the drawer has all your stuff for your equipment. There's one more set of things that we need to talk about. So you all have 4 people. Can you all look at the top cubby holes for me? So look down in the top cubby holes, all 4 of you. There should be a no, there shouldn't be that, actually. That should be in here. No, you just have extra. So if you look at that top cubby holes, one of the 4 top cubby holes at each desk should have what's called a wet and dry goods baskets. Okay, you'll see like little trays. Please bring out that tray and put it on top of the desk. You got it. Okay. And so it looks something like that, right? Whenever you're starting your lab, yeah, that's part of it. There should be more to it. Sometimes people put them in the cabinets. So you'll want to check your cabinets too if you can't find it. That's the one between the 2 people. The ones against the walls for cabinets are storage for the lab. They're just different classes of stuff. So each of these desk areas should have a wet and dry goods tray. And that tray is for the entire desk. So you always take that out at the beginning of lab, you put that out. You'll notice that the wet goods are all in the solid tray. The one that has spaces that can let stuff out, that's the dry goods. Okay? That's where all the stuff that shouldn't get wet should be. For example, you would not want like the clean wipes to be wet, right? Because that would be like wet tissues. That'd be gross. And so those would be in the dry goods, right? Pens, scissors, all that stuff is in dry goods. Okay? Water bottle, wet goods. Okay. And you'll see there that there's like a brush, there's a wire brush for you to clean stuff, there's a sponge, soap, all those things, okay? You'll use that to clean all of your equipment and the desktop. There's also clean wipes over here that you can get clean, though honestly, water and soap usually works better. Those don't normally work as well. All right, so those are the check-ins, check-outs, that's 10%. Being here and being an active participant is another 10%. Okay. By active participant, I mean you actively are participating with the lab. You have some idea what you're doing. The second one shouldn't be due today. Okay. Don't do the second one, the 02. I need to change the date. Okay. That's for 01 this week, and 02 is next week. 03 is. Yeah, and if I ever have something like that, just email me and remind me. I have 3 sections, so I make one, and then, or if this one I probably took 01 and copied it, and then I changed the name, and I have to do that 3 times. Yeah, if you email me, that'd be great. Actually, I'd be very appreciative. Now. Attendance, you have to actively participate. If you're not actively participating, I will go, hey, you need to actually do something and you need to participate somewhat competently, okay? And we'll talk about how to be competent in here in a little bit. But I have actually had to dissolve groups because of this, where people just show up and don't do anything, okay? And usually I try to make a way to make it so it's very obvious and you're not frustrating other people when that happens. But yeah. So remember, you actually have to come here, be somewhat prepared, and do stuff, okay? I'm trying to make you into professionals and give you that discipline that makes you a professional, okay? And do you know what the difference between a professional and a layman is, an unprofessional person? Preparation. Okay. A professional will prepare themselves and their environment, right? And so when they show up, they've already read through and gotten an idea what they're doing. If they didn't know how to lay tile, they're going to look up how to lay tile, watch a video or two, and try to get themselves somewhat prepared, right? Layman's just going to show up and you're paying me by hour, right? Okay. And that's why they get their asses fired. And then the professional is going to show up. They're going to prep their environment, try to prepare it. You ever seen a good plumber work? Like they take their tools out at first, they range them around them, they get the environment ready. If they have to lift and pull the toilet or whatever they're doing, I guess they could pull a shower too. But then like they have an exit and they like plan out the path, right? And you've probably seen these people do that. Okay, that's a professional. They're planning it out, right? And so when they start, they have everything ready. A layman just starts doing things, right? And they don't get their tools ready or anything. And so they'll be in the middle of screwing a screw and they need 3 other tools. One's out in the car and they're like, now what do? I have to hold this thing, get this tool from the car. That's a layman, right? Not professional. That's really bad. Okay. And what you'll realize is that not only do they do a bad job, right? They take 3 to 4 times the amount of time to do it. Okay. Because they're always running off. I need to go to Lowe's now. I need to go to my car. I need to go get this. I need to get the tools from my bag 20 times, running over 10 feet to do it, right? And so they take forever to do it. And so if they like lab, right? You don't have to be here the 2 hours. I don't care. I'm just as happy for you to come here and be competent and get the lab done in 45 minutes. Yeah, cool, awesome. Okay. On the other hand, if you don't prepare yourself, what's going to happen is you're going to spend the 2 hours trying to get things done. You're going to screw up repeatedly, and then you're not going to get done. Okay. And so you got to prepare yourself. That includes reading the lab packet and getting an idea of what you're doing. You don't understand something in the lab packet, like what's a beaker? What's a graduated cylinder? You look it up, right? AI's gotten pretty good at it. So AI can further explain it to you. And then if all else fails, you can always do the unthinkable, which is come in and ask a question from the professor that you're paying thousands of dollars for access to. By the way, does anybody want to know my hourly rate? Between $450 and $800. So that would be my hourly rate. You are getting me for such an amazing discount. You're getting me for like maybe 50 something dollars an hour. Yeah. So you're getting a really good price here. Actually, that's on the low side now. That's what I used to make per hour, but that was like 10 years ago. So that's probably like 40% higher now if I was to recalculate. Now, lab notebooks. You're going to need a lab notebook for this lab. That lab notebook can be purchased from the store, obviously, but you can also just get a composition notebook. Just needs to be something that you can't like easily remove the pages. Okay, that you can't modify easily. You'll use a pen for that lab notebook. You want to. The keyword is hard to modify. Okay. All right. Semi-permanent record. That's a total of 100%. Lab is pretty easy to pass and get a good grade in because when we go through these labs, I'm sitting here giving you all the answers, right? So as long as you're actively participating and actually paying attention, you're going to get everything right, okay? All right, this is important university dates. This right here is your finals dates. Let's look at the assignments real quick. So if we go on Canvas again, we look here, we have things like announcements or syllabus, and we have modules. Modules is how I meant for you to see the course, okay? I'm trying to make it more accessible. So you got to get these done. If you haven't already gotten those done, get on there and get that done, okay? Starting next week, I won't even let you do the labs, Okay, so you won't be able to do anything if you don't get them done. And that will obviously cause you to, not pass. Now, this right here is tutoring services. That's the flyer for the library tutoring services. There is a tutoring lab up here. I don't think they've posted times yet because they're still working out the schedules. But the flyer will go up once they do. I'm not sure if that current flyer actually goes to their new schedule. No, so not quite. I know that they are actually doing tutoring though, so people are already, yeah, and they're pretty dang good tutors. They understand the information pretty well. Occasionally, you might be able to stump a tutor with some of the material, just because we go into some like nursing specific stuff. If you rephrase it a bit, they'll be okay. Okay. Now, lab techniques. Right here is like a list of lab techniques, so you can easily like look up things if you're like, I don't understand how to use a balance, and I forgot what Dr. Dawson said. There you go. This is the first meeting, obviously, and it has little links and stuff for it to help you. But there's your check-in, check-out for this, right? There's the review quiz we'll do after we're done here. Okay. And this review quiz, by the way, is I actually took this from a bunch of like high school entrance exam sort of stuff. So mathematically wise, it's like mid high school, junior year high school. Okay. In terms of chemistry, it's actually middle school chemistry. Okay. Unfortunately, however, the United States of America is widely known to have a very, very, very messed up school system. Okay. You can go to very good schools. You can go to very bad schools in the United States. That has nothing to do with money, by the way. The most expensive schools in the United States spend over $80,000 per student, and they have the worst results in the country. And the New York charter schools spend about $20,000 per student, and they beat out the $150,000 private schools. So, pretty wild. It has to do with a lot of reasons. We're not going to get into that because some of them are highly political. But 40% of students would be able to solve maths questions that are on this exam when they graduate high school in the United States. Okay? And that is literally early high school level math, right? And then less than that will be able to solve the math questions in the United States. Most of you will be able to. If you can't, don't be embarrassed. That's why you're a student, right? I can teach you that information. You can learn that information. It's not bad. Okay. However, I do need you to like identify where your weaknesses are and resolve those weaknesses very rapidly, right? Because this is the level of math and science I should expect you to have, right? You should expect you to have this. Like the average cost of a high school, middle school, and elementary school students are $38,000 on average in the United States per student. So more expensive than the university education you're getting right now. And so you should expect to like have learned this stuff, right? If you didn't, it's not you. Okay? Just there's problems. And we need to identify those problems. We need to fix them, right? Okay. And so please treat this review first time around as an actual, like, what do I know? Okay. You can take it multiple times, so you can always go back and you can get a better grade. Okay. And pull out all the little tips and tricks. You can take this on your own time as well. Okay. And it'll be open all through the semester until the end. So if you want to get back a little bit of points here, you can. There's no late penalty to it, nothing. Once you're done with this, or when you're ready to go, you're going to do the checkout. Okay. It is recommended to do this in here. You can do this as tables and help each other out. That actually works better. Okay. Before you go, I really want you to exchange contact information with your partner. And contact information, I really, really would like you guys to just exchange phone numbers for your phone. Make it something that you have to like actually do something about, like a call or a text. I have had every app listed to me that I'm always on this, I'm always on that. This is what I'm better at receiving. And what always happens is that they exchange the Discord, Instagram, whatever. I don't care. Okay, TikTok. And then 2 weeks later, 3 weeks later, Dr. Clausen, I can't get the data and my lab partner is not responding. And I'm like, didn't you exchange information? Yeah, but they don't answer. Okay. And I get like 30% of my class that ends up with that. And so make it something you actually have to do something about to get rid of the message. Okay. Otherwise, like, they get sick of the messages on the app and they stop looking through them, right? Because you get too many messages on all the damn apps. Okay. Doesn't matter what app it is, it always ends up that way, right? This is the check-in for the next one. Next time we'll do making measurements. When you go into this making measurements, you'll see there's 2 assignments here. There's the 02 making measurements, and then there's the LB 02. Okay, LB is the lab book, right? That's the assignment for the lab. You'll see under this one, there's a lab packet. So you need to get into the lab packet here. And you'll see that's a PDF. So you'll print that off, okay? And you'll have your lab packet for next time. You'll bring that in, right? And that lab packet you need to read through before you come in. And anything you don't understand on it, you look up, okay? And so you'll come into lab. You'll kind of already know what's going on. And this is how you become competent in lab, okay? Anybody ever put something together with instructions or cooked from a cookbook recipe or just a recipe you printed off from line? Okay. So if you don't read them first and you just like start trying to do it, right? What always happens? You always mess up horribly, right? It ends up with too much of something, cooked too long, cooked not long enough. You forgot to put the thing that's supposed to go in the inside, and now you can't get to it. Every time, right? And that's called cookbooking it, okay? Is where you don't read through and you just try to do it while reading the instructions. And don't do that here. Because if you do that here, it's going to be dangerous, just like it's dangerous that you tend to burn yourself when you're doing it at the kitchen, right? But it's also going to mean that you take way longer and you don't get good results, right? And so 10 minutes, 15 minutes of reading this could save you. I like fast groups regularly will get out in 45 minutes of these labs. Okay, this will be a regular thing. And then I'll have other groups that are, on the slower side, but these labs are designed for an hour, 15 minutes so that everybody can complete them in 2 hours. And so the average will be like an hour, 15, hour, 20. And then I'll have groups that are like an hour and a half, and that'll be kind of the normal. And then I'll have like people at 2 hours later, they're still not done and they messed up a bunch of times. And I just have to kick you out because I have commitments after this. Okay. I just can't leave you in lab. And remember, that includes the cleanup. So, and so what will end up happening is I'll just be like, you have to submit your packet. And inevitably, those people that take that 2 hours and do not finish, they are always the people that just don't read the packets. Or the other thing that happens is the people that look out the window and are like, hey, that's Billy. He's fighting with his girlfriend. I know that. I had this group of girls in lab that they would do that every lab, and then they complain every lab that they can't get done in time. And so I just went ahead and watched them and recorded the time they started, the time they ended, and didn't interrupt it. I would normally have interrupted it. And so when they complained that day that your labs are impossible to get done, these labs I've used to teach, and some of them 10,000 plus students in 2-hour lab periods. Okay. When you tell me my labs are something, or my question is something, or my directions are impossible, or any of those things, do understand that there's very few. I don't actually have any labs in this class I'm doing that I haven't done with at least 100 students before. So, like, they're tested. What will happen is, like, I ended up just like, okay, you started looking out the window, talking about these two breaking up at this time. You guys finally got back to the lab 45 minutes later. So out of the 2-hour lab, 45 minutes were used for things that were not the lab. Okay. How do you expect to get done quickly? Right. So, like, keep that in mind. By the way, if I ever say something, you're like, Dr. Clausen, that's ridiculous. Why would you have to tell us that? Uh, it's because I've had many, many people do it recently. And so it's a thing I've started having to say. Okay. Different groups of students have different peculiarities, right? And so things that were clear at one point can be not clear to some students. For example, just basic how a college works has become something that students don't always know now. Okay. It used to be there was a lot of movies that were very popular in Zeitgeist that were college movies, right? And so you kind of got a sense there's credit hours, you go to a class at this time, you leave the class at that time, the days for the class are immutable, right? It always has to meet on its days. Okay. I have a significant number of students now every semester that don't know those basic facts. And I think a lot of it has to do with like there's not cultural zeitgeist movies. It's everybody just does their own things, right? And so you could watch TikTok videos and not know anything about colleges. So, or whatever you're into, whatever. So recognize that there's always going to be this portion where I like have to go through a lot of things that are like modifications procedures to try to make you guys understand better and things that try to head off things that people have been doing lately. Okay. Now, the this right here, you'll see that it has a procedure. Make sure you read the procedure, look up those techniques. You have some idea when you come in. It'll take you about 10 to 15 minutes to do that, and it'll save you at least half an hour in this lab. Okay, now you can leave early. This right here is what you turn in. You fill this out, you turn it in at the end of the lab. Okay, and so that's what you'll turn in. That also acts as your attendance, so I know, hey, these are the people that are here. Okay, all right. So the other thing there is going to be is the lab notebook. This will be that lab notebook you bought from the bookstore, a composition notebook. There is an example. This example is a little bit past what I would expect from all of you. Not a little bit. It's quite a bit past what I expect all of you. It's a more advanced class that I gave you an example from so that you could see what they should look like. Okay? And so this has very, very nice formatting, but it's from organic chemistry, which is a 300 level chemistry course. Okay? Like a junior level chemistry course. Now, what you'll have is you'll have notes. And so you'll have your lab notebook and a pen. It needs to be unalterable. You take that out at the beginning of class. I'll go through like a little diatribe, usually about 15, 20 minutes of, hey, these are some modifications to the procedure. These are things to look out for. This is safety information, that sort of stuff. Okay. And you're going to want to do something that's called taking notes. And you do that so you can remember it. And I'm explaining this because I had a course evaluation from students that said Dr. Clausen tells us everything we need to know. I just can't remember it. This is how you remember those things as you take notes. And you'll end up seeing I have to every time go like, everybody get your notebooks out, get your pens out, you gotta take notes, start writing. And so you notice that's in the check-in too. So the number of times I've had to say. So what you're going to have is you don't have to do this mount. You don't have to get a full safety table and procedure right out. But what you do have to do is you have to take any modifications procedure. You have to write down like, I took a measurement of this. It looked like that. Its observations are these. The mass I got on the balance was this. Okay? And so you have to write out things like that. This is going to be where all your observations go. Okay, as you do these lab modifications, things like I spilled it. Okay, and so this will give those ideas. This is just good note-taking procedure, good documentation, right? Incredibly important in the medical field, but incredibly important in most fields, right? Is having good documentation. Okay, and so we're practicing good documentation here. what you're going to do then is you'll have this lab notebook. It typically is 1 to 2 pages for any given lab. You'll have that lab notebook. You will then use an app called CamScanner. You can use it on anything, but phone's kind of easiest. Tablets work though. Anything with camera works. You'll download that app. You'll use that app. And what CamScanner does is it very nicely centers things and then flattens them out and makes them black and white so that they look like a very nice scan, right? Very clear, very easy to read, okay? You will use CamScanner because I have had this discussion with hundreds of students that tell me my Apple, what is the Apple one again? Whatever the Apple one's called, Apple Scan or whatever, is just as good or better. It's better than that. It works better than this. And then they submit this damn assignment. It is faded blue. It's blurred out at the edges. It's not flat. So have you ever read something that's like this? It is horrible. You read 70 of those and then you come back and tell me that Apple Scan is just as good or the Android Scan or whatever the hell you might use. Okay. It is not. This is the only free one that actually works well enough that my eyes don't feel like they're going to melt. Okay. And so I will literally just not grade you if you give me a blurry, unreadable scan. I'm not going to destroy my eyes on this. Okay. I'm tired of it. It's hard policy. Sorry, but this is it. Now, the CamScan, the nice thing is once you learn to use this, it takes like 2 minutes to do this. Okay. If even that. I can do it in about 30 seconds for any given lab because I've done it quite a few times now. So that's the CamScanner right there. Anyways. Anybody have any questions on any of that? Nothing? Okay. Fantastic. Very good. So what you should do now is if you haven't completed your check-in, you should do that. What you'll notice is that the check-in, again, you should check your equipment and make sure you have everything. You guys are the lucky lab because all the other labs have done this before you. And yet, you will still, I will have a group that will find their drawer is missing something. Because we do share this lab with other labs. And so this lab has 8 or 12 different labs in this space. Okay, and that drawer gets used by all of them. And so all of them, yeah, it gets a little chaotic. And so that's why we got to look and make sure we have everything. Because otherwise, might not. Yeah. Okay, once you have your check-in done, you've checked out your drawer, what you want to do then is you want to go ahead and get on the Canvas here. And you want to click on that Math and Science Review. And you want to work with the rest of your desk. Please don't forget, you need to clean your lab space as well before you leave. Anytime there's a mess, what I end up doing is I take points off depending on how long it takes me to clean up. Okay? Every minute it takes me to clean up, you get minus 1% for that day. Okay? So if it takes me 30 minutes, it's going to be minus 30%. All right? Keep that in mind. If it takes you 1 minute to clean up, and each of you it takes 1 minute to clean up, then I'm looking at 24 minutes of cleaning, aren't I? Okay? If it takes you 5 minutes each to clean up, then I'm already in the 2 hours of cleaning, right? And I don't have time to do that and literally can't accomplish that before the next lab would get in here, right? It's not even doable. So I have to have you guys clean up after yourselves. It is not an option. Okay. It isn't something I can bridge. There is stools that are available. This is so stupid. Okay. Bureaucracy exists. We have run into a bureaucratic issue, and we cannot currently have. So when you have stools in a lab, it needs to not block the walk space, right? And so permanent fixture stools need to be able to be tucked. up under the desk. Okay. We can't do that right now. And so what's happened is we've been given stools from other labs that are out there behind the board. Okay. And you can bring those stools in here and you can use those stools. There's not enough for everybody, right? Because we've only been given. We're not allowed to purchase stools for this lab right now. We have a solution we think we can work with, but it's not something we can get done this semester. It's a process. And we have to go through a bureaucracy here. And so what's going to happen here is you can grab a stool from there. You can behind the board. You can bring it in. At the end of lab, you have to pick that stool up and you have to stack them up nicely where they are right now behind that board. You cannot bring a seat in. Okay. So you notice like there's some chairs out in the hallway. Those are meant for the hallway. Do not bring them in here. You can't use those. Okay. And so you can bring the stools in. You have to put them back out. If you leave the stools, those things take me forever to get out of here and stack up. I can only carry 2 stools at a time, right? It's not possible for me to do more. So if you leave 24 stools, it typically ends up taking me something along the lines of like 20 minutes to clean up all those stools. Okay? Because I'm only one person with 2 hands, right? I don't have magic powers. If you bring a stool in, you really, really, really need to keep track and take that out, okay? When you're done. And you can go ahead and bring the stool in now if you'd like. We're going to do that review. You'll all work together at your desks to help each other out and talk to each other and teach each other if you already did the review because the directions were not clear for some reason. Which happens because you get into the quiz and then you just start. I understand. I've been there. Then anyways, you're going to help people. Okay? Help the people at your desk. Do actually explain why, though. Don't just like, the answer is this. Okay? And so help each other explain why, teach each other this information. It's actually more effective for you all to teach each other than it is for me to teach you. Okay? You'll actually learn it better. Right? But if you get stuck as a group, talk to me. Ask me. Talk to class. Okay. Does anybody have any questions? Anything at all? Mm-hmm.
Somebody like leave something.
Mm-hmm.
That's just like part of the picture because somebody left.
That is, but any mess you or if you find something somebody left, bring that up to me so I can like go, hey, there's something that was left in lab. Yeah.
As far as like, if there's a mess already here before the picture, if we do.
You do. Yep. You got it. Yeah. So you take the picture, then you clean it up. Yep. And what I'll try to do is I will actually communicate with the other labs and the other students and stuff, and we'll try to make it so you guys don't have messes when you get here. But unfortunately, like that one right there, I know is baking soda, but that would actually mess up your guys' lab if you we're doing weights, right? You could set it down in it, and then you'd end up with weights that you there, and like it could mess up your computers and so yep, gotta clean it, and then that second picture it'll be gone. Your desk will be perfect. Don't forget, folks, there is a sweeping the floor portion to this, and please do not throw stuff on the floor as the garbage. There is garbage right there behind that door. Okay. Again, something people have done. Okay. Any other questions? More questions? Questions I didn't cover as much as you would have wanted?
So I was in a different class,
Mhm.
And I did the lab safety thing for that class.
Unfortunately, you'll have to.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry, bud.
Will I lose any points for like late?
No. Yeah, there's no late penalties. Yeah. Almost everything in this class, you either can do it or just can't do it. Yeah. So I just don't even bother with late usually. Thank you very much. Thank you. I really appreciate that. Okay. Okay. So go ahead and start that review. If you've already done the review, help the people nearby so that they can learn the stuff better. Make sure you do the check-in, check-out. They will close by the time the class is done for today. Okay?